Hi everyone, I'm Cemal Yiğit. Welcome to News in Focus, Nigeria. Everyone talks about Boko Haram. A lot have been talked about Boko Haram and the victims. But how about the people who have escaped from Boko Haram in the northern part of Nigeria? That thing has been going on for more than 5 years. And they are called IDP people. People who are displaced. They have no homes, no shelters, and they need other people to be taken care of. Here I have Abubakar Muhammad with me, who is deeply involved in helping IDP people in and around Nigeria, northern part of Nigeria. Welcome, Mr. Muhammad.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. Alhamdulillah.
Thanks for coming.
No, thank you.
How are you doing?
Very well. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
No.
Please tell us more about IDP people and the project that you have developed, involved in so many organizations and people.
Yes. Well, the IDPs, or the internally displaced persons, as you have mentioned, are people who have been displaced from their homes due to the crisis, especially in our own part of the world, in Nigeria, due to the crisis in the northeastern region, which has also enveloped the whole northern region. These are people who have lost their homes, lost their means of livelihood. A lot of them have lost family members, children have been orphaned, and they have been left unattended. So a lot of them today are being catered for in camps out of their original habitats, their original places of dwelling. And today they are basically scattered around the northern part of the country, and even in countries like Niger, Cameroon, we have pockets of internally displaced persons from Nigeria that are found in some of these regions. And our organization, the ICICE Care Coalition, it's actually a coalition of 4 different organizations. One of them is ICICE, which is the Islamic Center for International Center for Islamic Culture and Education, One Ummah, Like Minds, and CEDAR. These are the 4 organizations that make up the ICICE Care Coalition. And our aims and objectives is basically to come together and to provide 5 key interventions for the IDPs. Interventions in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of rehabilitation, in terms of provision of livelihood, and the 5th and final in terms of trauma counseling, because a lot of the IDPs have been traumatized by what has happened to them.
Well, before you continue, more about how you treat IDP people in those camps, I have this question. I'm really curious about it. Internally displaced people, right?
Yes, internally displaced people
People or persons. So
yes.
From whom did they escape?
Well, they escaped.
I mean, they are Muslims.
Yeah, we have Muslims,
mostly.
we have Christians.
Okay,
yes,
you have Christians in the camps?
Yes, we have Christians, a lot of Christians, a lot
Okay,
of
how
Muslims
about when
in the
you
camps.
treat them, do you differentiate?
We don't differentiate, because this is not part of the teachings, if not the teachings of religion, of Islam, teachings of humanity. Because before religion divides us, humanity brings us together. We are all human beings. We all shed tears. We all shed blood. We all feel sadness and sorrow and feel joy and happiness as well. But then Islam teaches us that it is a responsibility, because once you have the ability to do it, then you have the responsibility as well. And we have to cater for those who are in need in our society. And provision for the needy is one of the strongest elements of faith that anyone has. And that's why when we look at one of the chapters of the Holy Quran, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us about the person who withholds charity. Someone withholding charity, Allah compares him with someone who doesn't even believe in the existence of God. So for us, it's a religious obligation that we provide aid and relief items for people across board, regardless of Muslims and Christians.
Background is not a case.
Background is not a case for us. We even have people who are not worshipping at all. They don't believe in the existence of a God.
I understand.
And so we cater for everyone, regardless of religious backgrounds or religious inclinations. And we do all this in order to provide a very good platform to promote goodness, peace, and harmony in our society.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's get back to my question. I'm still curious about that, because Boko Haram is so-called an Islamic terrorist organization. Exactly. I don't know if these 2 words should come together or not. That's another issue. Yeah. But how come again the people who are escaping from them, or getting away from them, again Muslims, and end up in these IDPs?
Yes. Well, you find, first of all, I would start by, we all know the history of Boko Haram. This is a sect of people that they are bloodthirsty. Till today, nobody knows what they want. They claim to want Sharia in quote, but we know that this is not from the Sharia of Allah. Maybe it's the Sharia of something else, but not the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And in fact, in the constitution of Nigeria, in many states, that Sharia is being implemented only on Muslim citizens.
Exactly.
And this is okay in Nigeria with the current constitution.
Exactly. In fact, not just in northern parts, it's actually in the whole country.
Yeah.
Because one is allowed to some extent to practice the laws of their religion.
Right.
And Sharia is the law of the Muslims. The only thing is, people know Sharia to be, when you cut off the hands of someone or you flog someone or things like this. No, Sharia actually is in protecting the lives of people. When you look at the studies of the righteous scholars, when they break down what it means to practice Sharia, there are 5 things, sacred things that the Sharia would protect, that are referred to as ad-darurat al-khams al-muqaddasat, the 5 sacred things. The first and most important of them is life. And this is what Sharia is there to do, to protect life, so that people are not killed unjustly, so that blood is not shed unjustly, which is what you have Boko Haram doing today. They have blown up mosques, they have blown up churches, they have killed women, children, elderly. They don't have any barrier or border in terms of what they do. So Boko Haram is really not a religious sect, and that's why I need people to not associate Boko Haram with Islam. Boko Haram and Islam are completely far.
So it's like saying a Muslim cannot be a terrorist cannot be a Muslim.
Exactly. So this is with respect to them. Now, with respect to the IDPs, how they escape from Boko Haram members, a lot of them, those fortunate to escape, actually escape using means which, when we interview a lot of them, they tell you that, look, some of them didn't even know they were going to escape. They were left for dead. There were people we met with who were shot at, who were left for dead, but they survived. Some of them were elderly who could not run, and the Boko Haram members felt these people are not harmless to us, so they left them in communities. But in a lot of cases, if they were young men, they would take them away, or they would kill them.
They are doctrinated and...
Exactly, and forced, because they are forced actually. This group forces people to be members of their group or members of their movement. Just as the Chibok girls, whom till today we have never forgotten, and we will never forget them until they come back. These girls were forcefully taken out of their homes. And a lot of them, yes, Muslims, a lot of them who were Christians were forcefully converted or made to convert to Islam, which we know that la ikraha fi din.
And Islamically this cannot be justified.
This is not justified. You do not force a person to become a Muslim, to follow your religion. This is not accepted in Islam. So a lot of people who escaped from the IDPs were the IDPs who escaped from Boko Haram were first fortunate to have escaped from them, and then it was just the will of Allah Azza wa Jal that they found themselves out of it. But a lot of people who were not so fortunate were actually killed or slaughtered or kidnapped and have been, residing with these people for a very long time.
Mr. Mohammed, I believe you have visited many IDP camps.
Exactly. No.
Please tell us, try to describe the difficulties those people are facing in those camps.
Wow. Words cannot describe it.
I guess so.
Words cannot describe it. Every time we would go, a few members of my team would always shed tears every time we'd go. And each camp you would find different problems. Some camps had peculiar problems, maybe problems having to do with health, and problems having to do with food, nutrition, being served one meal, the same meal every day could have an effect, obviously, on
malnutrition problems.
Malnutrition problems could come up, especially for growing children that need a lot of nutrients to develop, especially for the brain, because at a young age, certain nutrients that the child takes causes the brain to grow at a normal rate, at a normal pace. But for a lot of these kids, they might not have that opportunity.
As you said earlier, since the young ones, especially men, were taken, so IDP camps are mostly women and elderly and children?
And children, yes. A lot of IDP camps, you would find majority, in terms of the statistics, there are more women, children, and elderly
Okay.
in these camps. A lot of the young men were forced into this group or they were killed. Once you chose not to be a member, and you tell them that, look, categorically you don't want to have anything to do with this movement or this ideology, which has nothing to do with Islam, it's not Islamic, you were killed as a young man. So this has been the situation that has been going on for the past couple of years.
So like in the camps, like children, are they going to school? Are there enough institutions for them, facilities?
Well, unfortunately, there are none. I'll give an example. In Borno, in Maiduguri Borno State, there are, in Maiduguri alone, you have close to 27 camps. As at the last time we went, it was about 27 camps. One of the smallest camps has 17,000 people.
Wow.
And of those 17,000 people, this is the Dalori camp sorry, there are 8,001 children. That number could have gone up from the last time we went, which was just a few months ago, maybe 2-3 months ago. And with those figures, there are not enough facilities to cater for their education. So they don't go to school. In fact, the whole of Maiduguri has been shut down. Education is shut down. All government schools have been turned into camps. So those who are IDPs and those who are even residents in the town have not been attending school for the past 2 to 4 years.
I see.
So there's a gap in terms of education. And this is a great threat, because if you don't educate a child from young, they grow up and they could be indoctrinated again by the same set of people that we're fighting today.
Ignorance causes a lot of problems in society.
Yes. And this would lead ultimately to chaos. It will lead to chaos. So this is why our group, even though coming from a religious point of view, because yes, we are an Islamic NGO.
Actually, that motivates you to do that charitable thing to people. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel motivated to do it.
Exactly. Very true.
So then you are doing this without differentiating any religion from another one and helping people.
No differentiations.
Okay, tell us about the women's conditions and women condition in the camps.
Well, a lot of the women we've seen, especially for pregnant breastfeeding women, similar situation. They lack facilities. Some of them give birth. They just have women come around who are wet nurses that aid them in giving birth. But certain things they don't have to cater for themselves while in the camps. So the situation is quite deplorable for a lot of pregnant women and breastfeeding women, because they don't have enough energy and strength to even hold on. So this is why one of the things our coalition is doing is to focus on health, especially mother-child health. So we're working at providing mobile hospitals. And some of these mobile hospitals, we're going to have delivery rooms for some of these mobile hospitals where women can go deliver. They can be catered for a certain period, and then they can be given the necessary items in order to start at least a cycle, maybe a 6-month or 1 year, to have enough strength and nutrients for themselves and for the child. Similar also for the children, it's a similar thing. We also want to work on ensuring we provide education for as many children as possible. They go to school, or we establish schools in the camps. This is the safest way for us. So we are going to establish schools in the camps and interact with the children and give them that ability to learn and do a lot of different things. So there's so many ideas we're working with, and all of them are implementable by the grace of God. And we're not differentiating. Once again, this is reiterated by us, because once you begin to try to differentiate, it causes a larger barrier. The problem is beyond us differentiating at this point. So we have to look more at making a good impact, inshallah.
Your act is a private act.
Yes.
Is it endorsed by government? Do they help you to facilitate your activities in those camps when it comes to getting permissions or protection or mobilization or anything?
Well, it's mainly private. We don't have government relations in any way, any form. Although we are working towards that, because in order to have legitimacy and you need to be credible, the government needs to be involved in what you are doing as well. So we are working towards the government also being part of what we are doing. But it's all private efforts, donations from individuals, from our own selves, from our mosque community, the masjid community, the An-Nur Masjid here in Nigeria, in Abuja. These are all donations that have come together in order to support these projects we're doing. So it's an individual effort, but also the government needs to be put there as well for legitimacy and credibility as well.
You said earlier it's a coalition. Are your doors open to other organizations who would like to take part in what you are doing?
Yes, we are very much open. In fact, we've been approached by different aid organizations, including UNICEF, Red Cross, to partner with them or to work with them, synergize basically to know what we're all doing. These four organizations that make the coalition have only come together to give the coalition a direction.
Okay.
We have clear set targets.
A right policy.
Exactly. The policies are there, the framework, the strategic framework is there, and what we want to achieve is there. So every organization we partner with will be partnering with us based on what we want to achieve. And if the organization has its strengths in certain interventions, then we work with them in those interventions. For example, if it's in health, an organization comes and they have like Doctors Without Borders, for example. If they come to us and we know that this is a medical line or they are stronger in the health field and medical field, then we can support them or we can synergize to see how to provide necessary healthcare in the camps and in the host communities as well.
Okay. How about these people in IDP camps practicing their religion? Do they have, again, enough facilities, mosques or churches to practice their religion?
Well, sadly they don't. A lot of them don't have, and a lot of them, for the Muslims and the Christians, just have to make do with whatever structure they find, or just with the open field. I remembered Ramadan, this year Ramadan, actually. We went also to Maiduguri and visited a camp.
Okay.
And in the camp, we got to find out that the people were not praying tahajjud prayers or tarawih prayers.
The night prayers?
Yes, the night prayers.
Okay.
Ramadan. So we tried to inquire what had happened. And they said, how can they stand to pray when they are so hungry? There's no food, there's not enough
lack
food.
Of energy.
Lack of
to
energy.
That level.
To that level. And there was no way they could stand to also pray. They were just praying under the, so it rains, it's on them. The heat is on them, the sand dust is on them, so it was difficult. It was quite difficult for them. So these are some of the cases you find in a lot of the camps when you go, in terms of lack of certain facilities. But you can't blame those operating the camps because there are so many problems. It's sometimes overwhelming when you look at the problems. So
for Nigeria, it's something unprecedented. And
exactly.
Okay.
And it's history.
Other than what you are doing, what are the solutions that you have in your mind that can be implemented in these IDP camps?
Well,
that would help the people there to revive again.
The first solution is education. Education in terms of conventional education of what we know today of the world, the evolution of the world today as it is, technology, so many things today we have, and we need to be grateful to God for. And we need to learn how to use them. So education is very key. As well as education of in terms of religion. For the Muslims and the Christians, religious centers are very key.
Okay.
Because if the wrong teachings, just like what we have with Boko Haram today, if the wrong teachings are propagated or pushed out for little children or for people to take, it causes a lot more harm in society than good. So for us, we would target education in order to ensure that the right information is given and people learn about things of life and of religion properly in order to reduce or probably stop radicalization of another generation of children, yes.
Wonderful.
So these are some of the approaches we want to use. And
education is the key.
It's the key.
For the solutions
exactly.
of the IDP camps.
Exactly.
Mr. Mohammed, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Jazakallah khairan.
IDP people who are suffering in those camps. But as Mr. Mohammed underlined, the solution for those who live in those camps is education. And hopefully enough education will be supplied them very soon by the organizations who are getting together to address this problem. See you on the next edition. Thank you.